Hi, I'm John Childs. I'm G. Loomis, Shimano, and PowerPro Pro staff here in the Northwest. Today what we're here to talk about is about preparing our gear for our upcoming Springer season. What I have here is a G. Loomis SAMR 1174 herring rod. It's a 9-foot 9-inch rod. It's got a fantastic light tip and a heavy butt action, which is a wonderful thing for springers because when they bite that, you've got a lot of rod tip to allow them to take the bait, but you've got a lot of butt section to close the deal when you're done. We've paired this with a Shimano 500 Dakota line counter, which is one of the best line counters in the business. It's got a fantastic drag on it and a line counter, so it allows us to know exactly where we need to be. What we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about using one of PowerPro's new lines called Hollow Ace. What Hollow Ace is it's a hollow line that allows us to insert monofilament up inside of it. Where traditionally what we're using round Spectra fiber lines. When you're using regular Spectra fiber lines that aren't hollow in the middle, we have to use knots to make that connection. A knot is always a weak point. A knot is going to be somewhere between 80 and 90% at a good knot. That's the kind of breaking strength we'll have at that knot connection. Here, when we insert monofilament into the line, we're going to get a 100% connection, so it will break at the strength of the rating of the line. So if you're using 50 pounds, you're actually getting a 50-pound breaking strength at the knot because there is no knot. The knot is now happened where we're taking this line and we're going to insert monofilament up inside of it about 3 to 5 feet. There will be no knot. The other beautiful thing is we don't have a knot going in and out of the rod tip, so at that point you're not ever having a knot that's coming in. You can feel that clunk, clunk, clunk as it goes through or back out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to begin building this knotless inserted leader. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a section of this hollow core line and I'm going to take monofilament, I'm going to take 30-pound monofilament and I'm going to insert it up inside of this Hollow Ace. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a section of this line and I want about 5 feet. I know that's probably hard to see on the camera all the way, but I'm almost at a full arm's length and I know that's how far I want to insert this line. Now I'm going to take my monofilament and I'm going to prepare it to insert into this line. The very first thing is monofilament under tension inside of the Hollow Ace can actually cut it. If you have a sharp end, if I take my scissors and I cut that end and it's sharp and flat, what we're going to end up doing under tension is you can break those Spectra fibers because they'll cut the Spectra like it's butter. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the scissors and we're going to cut it on a hard angle. Then we're going to take a file of some sort. A regular nail file is fantastic. And we're going to run that nail file over that end. And what you want when you're finished, if you can see what I'm doing there, I'm just slowly rubbing that across that nail file to when I'm done, it's going to be dull all the way across. Once I have that dulled up and you can kind of see it's a milky color, I'm going to begin to insert it into this line. The way you insert it is we use needles. These needles are hollow needles with a sharp tip. I take the monofilament and I run it up inside of that hollow needle. Once it's in the needle, I'm going to insert it into the Hollow Ace line. What I did is I'm taking that line and I'm pushing it open just a little bit. When you start the needle in the end of the line, if it's not open a little bit, it's really hard to get it started. So I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to run it into the opening of the hollow line. So now I have that line inserted. Or I'm sorry, I've got the needle inserted into the Hollow Ace. So what I'm going to begin doing is I'm going to begin pulling the Hollow Ace down onto the needle. And that's a really important distinction. If you try to push the needle inside the Hollow Ace, the needle is going to want to break out the sidewall, and that's really hard to make it go where you want. So if you take the line right at the connection where the needle is starting to go into it and pull the line over the top, it begins to go inside the Hollow Ace. We're just going to run that line back. We're going to run this about 5 feet up into that line, which is going to take a couple minutes. Now occasionally, when you're running these insertions, you will pop out the sidewall if you see, and I'm doing that on purpose now so you can see. But when that happens, if you accidentally push through, what you do is you want to pull your leader or your needle back through the line, and then take the line at the front end and you just push it open again. You just open it up a little bit, and that will allow you to glide past that spot where you popped out the sidewall. If you don't open the line up in front of that, the needle will want to keep going out the same spot. It'll go right out the sidewall of the line. Right now we're inserting 30-pound monofilament into 60-pound Hollow Ace. The closer the lines are in diameter, or in breaking strength, excuse me, the harder they are to insert. So if you were trying to insert 30 into 40 pound, it can be done, but it's incredibly hard because it's such a tight fit. Once I have the line about 5 feet up inside, I'm going to bring the needle out the sidewall, and I'm going to bring the monofilament out as well. At this point, I'm going to take the mono and I'm going to press it back into the hollow core. Right when I break through the hollow core, I'm going to pull the hollow core straight, and I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to push the line tight. What we're doing is we're creating what's called a finger trap, or a Chinese finger trap, or some people call it the finger puzzle. A lot of us played that when we're kids, where you take that and you pull. The harder you pull, the tighter it gets. So the same thing happens here. The harder we pull from the top or the spectra side, the tighter it holds onto the monofilament. Now, really, we could go fishing with that just as it is. The problem is, if we ever grab the line from right here and push, it opens it right back up. It takes that finger trap and starts to pull it loose, which will let the line slip. So the very first thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to add a little bit of super glue. Any type of super glue or CA glue will work in this scenario. So what we do is we take the connection right where the line, the spectra or hollow core stops on top of the monofilament, and we pull it back about 1 inch. We take a dab of the CA glue right on top of the monofilament, and now we run the PowerPro right on top of it. Be careful here, you're going to glue your fingers together. So you have to be real careful as you do this. Push that line tight. So there we have a glued connection. And again, you could fish it right here. What we're going to do is we're going to add one little bit of insurance. If this ever broke the bond of the glue right here, we're going to slip. So I'm going to take light spectra, and this is just regular round spectra, and this is PowerPro 20 pound, and I'm going to take a short section of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a uni knot right here at the end of the line. So I'm going to take the line and I'm going to make a loop and tie a uni knot over the top of that hollow inspected spectra or Hollow Ace. I'm going to draw it tight. And if you don't tighten it up real fast, you can put it right at the end of the connection. Now I'm going to pull really hard on each of those tag ends, and what I want is that line to bite down into the hollow core spectra underneath it. And a lot of times, because this line is so slick, what I'll do is I'll take something like these hemostats, and I'll just wrap my line around them a few times so I can get enough pull to really make sure that that's tight and biting down. You see I broke that pulling hard enough. We'll do the same thing from the other side. We again broke it pulling, so we know that we're really tight on that knot. At this point, I will trim my tags. The tighter you trim them, of course, the prettier it is. It's going to fish regardless if it's pretty, but my scissors are getting a little bit dull. We trim that knot up. Now we'll take just a little bit more super glue, put it right over the top of that knot. We're going to rub that in to make it nice and smooth. And we have a fishable top shot. At this point, we have a connection that's 100%. There is no knot. We're an inserted leader, and this allows us to run a bumper with 100% strength right down to where we attach it to our spreader or our swivel, however you've decided to set up your bottom gear for running spring Chinook. So this season, Expand your horizons by trying Hollow Ace with an inserted connection, which again gives you 100% and is a great way to expand your horizons on the way you fish for spring Chinook. I'm John Childs. Thanks for being with us.